gonna let Clay talk a little bit about like what brought about this particular segment of the topic.
Well, I mean, if you follow the NFL, it's been going around how there's no like black head coaches, and we got one black head coach, the Steelers head coach, and there's really no others. And it just seems like all the players and a lot of the coaches, like assistant coaches and things like that, are of color, but we don't often get the head coaching jobs.
Yeah, well now they got 3 black head coaches now.
Since the offseason.
Right.
Yeah, because who did they just pick up? Wasn't it Lovie Smith, I believe, just got hired?
Mm-hmm.
Where did he get hired to?
Houston.
Yeah, so I did see like on the coaching side, I did see a statistic, and I think they ran it from like as far as like the head coaching job from like 2012 until now. It's like 2014, one of those till now. I think the statistics was like, as far as head coaches go, white coaches, hired over the last 10 years, it was like almost maybe like 90 some or 60 some coaches or whatever, over the span of a 10-year period. And out of like 90 coaches, I think 78 of them, or like almost 80 of them, were all white. Mm-hmm. And it was like less than 15 of them were black coaches. And that's over the last 10 years. And then there was another statistic. Their tenure is all under 5 years. Every last one of them. Okay. Whereas the average tenure for an NFL coach who's white is about 7 years for a team on average. So it really does go to show that there's not a lot of representation color-wise. And then I know one of the things we had talked about before was even when they are hired, they don't stay long. So it's a huge disparity there. I mean, it's only what, 32 teams,
mm-hmm. Right.
So I mean, it's not to say that there's a lot to go around for head coaching jobs, but I mean, just think about the day and age we're in. Coaches get fired left and right.
Yeah, most definitely.
But it seems to be like a recyclable thing. Like the same coaches who are getting fired from one team or for special teams or defense or whatever, the white coaches typically find it. They have a job usually within about a season or so.
Right.
And if not, they're at a college somewhere where they have a job.
Right.
Black head coaches, other than what's his name for Steelers, Mike Tomlin. Mm-hmm. It's not a long tenured, black coach that we can all think of. At least not that I know of. Do y'all know any that's like, like 7 to 10 years?
Tony Dungy.
Yeah, Tony Dungy.
Tony Dungy, the kid from Cincinnati. He was in Cincinnati for a long time. What's his name? Marvin Lewis. He was in Cincinnati about 15 years, I believe. But they got some. Yeah.
But remember when the Rooney Rule was first instituted, it was more black head coaches then than there is now.
It was.
Right.
It was just 4 then. It was what?
Yeah, at one point it got up to about 8 coaches, and I think that was after the Rooney Rule. Without the Rooney Rule, Mike Tomlin probably wouldn't have had his job.
Right.
So, I think the Rooney Rule was put there to give blacks opportunity, but of course everybody takes advantage of it, and I think we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, the Rooney Rule is supposed to give black people opportunities because let's face it, though, if the Rooney Rule wasn't there, black people wouldn't even get an interview. And we wouldn't hear their names at all.
Right. So let's flip flop, because we were going to talk about players at first, but since we already started with coaches, let's talk about the whole lack of diversity, and not just in the NFL, but in a lot of major sports. There's not a lot of black leadership, or management, that is.
Black people don't play a lot of baseball.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's
but
more
in basketball, they got quite a bit of black
and
coaches.
when we did talk,
basketball.
that was one of the things we said, that in basketball it seems to be a little bit more diverse in the NBA, but in the NFL it's an old boys club. And one of the things that we did talk about was the fact that, remember how we just said black coaches tend not to keep their jobs as long as white coaches, right, even with losing seasons. Do you think that there is a higher standard or a different standard for black coaches, that they're held to a higher standard that even white coaches aren't held to? Because let's just be comparable. You don't have a coach who's had 3 or 4 seasons back to back, straight losing seasons. I'm talking about they barely win 6 games. White coaches tend to keep their jobs a little bit longer. As a black coach, he might get away with that 2 or 3 years and then he's out. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I haven't really looked at the data of like coaches who have losing seasons but keep their jobs. I mean, I know that's easy to say. I don't know
But
if
they
it's
don't
valid.
lose their job if they have winning seasons.
Right.
Black coaches lose their job when they have winning seasons.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say
They don't
too.
win the Super Bowl or make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Like, what's your boy? He coached the Raiders for a little bit, and they actually had a pretty decent season. They didn't have a losing season. They didn't like win the Super Bowl or nothing, but he ended up getting fired, and they didn't even have a bad season, even amongst all the injuries and the adversity they had to go through. He still lost his job.
What's the Indianapolis coach guy that replaced Tony Dungy? He got fired, and he had great seasons.
And then
Just
another
didn't win the Super
person.
Bowl.
Yeah.
And I mean, even going to NBA, I forgot what's the Mark.
What is his name?
Mark Jackson.
Yeah, Mark Jackson. They were having a phenomenal year, the Warriors, and then they made it to the playoffs. And then next thing, and that was he was only there for 1 year, and they fired him. So I mean,
What's the coach name that replaced Tony Dungy? The black guy. I didn't think of his name.
So it does sound like, if we're all in consensus, it does sound like that black coaches are held to a higher standard. You know, even with winning seasons, you know, if they don't bring home the ring or at least make it to the Super Bowl, they're out.
Right.
Whereas, like I said, white coaches, and like we try not to make it all about race, but you know, what we observe is what we observe. White coach can have a losing, he can go 4-12 and keep his job for 5 years straight. Right. You know. You know who's the king of that? Like, he's the king of loyalty, and that's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones will keep a losing lineup for years.
Yeah.
But Jerry Jones like coaches that he can control,
and that's true. Because what was his name? What was
that's
it, Jason
what
Garrett?
Jerry Jones like.
Yeah.
But I think that black people, period, we have to work harder than our white counterparts in any job, and it shows. I mean, it just got data in the NFL, but I mean, I think at any job we got to work a little bit harder than our white counterparts. And let's face it, man, the people who controls the NFL are the billionaire owners, and we don't have any black owners in the NFL, and they can hire whoever they want to hire.
Yeah, and that's what I always say. Like, I think for like people saying, "Oh, we need to own teams and stuff." Like, you gotta have billions of dollars to own a team, and it's not really many black billionaires. So I think that this thing is more likely in the near future is going to be more black head coaches.
Well, I think we're gonna get the Denver Broncos.
You talking about
Byron
Allen?
Byron Allen.
He's thinking about buying.
He has $10 billion in
What
capital.
you telling me about that, Terrell?
Mm-hmm.
He has $10 billion in capital, so he has enough capital to buy that team.
So he raised the funds.
Yeah.
I mean, but he owns a lot of TV stations.
Yeah, like major networks. He's been like quietly buying major networks.
So he has capital. A lot of people are looking at what they say on
his net worth,
but he has capital. A lot of people don't understand what capital is. Capital is if you move some things around, you have access to that money. Like Michael Jordan probably don't have $1 billion laying in his bank account, but he has a lot of capital. So he already raised $10 billion in capital, so he can buy.
So he actually has a liquid capital.
He has the capital to buy the Broncos if he wanted to. He's put in a bid, but of course, it has to be agreed upon by the other owners,
right?
Who gets that bid? So it's not just. I mean, he could offer the most, but that don't have to take his offer.
Board of Governors of the NFL.
No, the owners.
Aren't they the board of governors? The owners?
I don't know if that's what they call it.
I thought that's what they call it. The owners. And so, what do y'all think is the likelihood that will be successful, even if you have the money?
I think they're gonna get one because the NFL needs one, and I think they're gonna make this one happen because Roger Goodell and a lot of people done reached out to Byron Allen.
And they're under pressure now, so like when they're under pressure, I think they're more inclined to do it. Just like when all this stuff has like been coming out lately, they've been like under pressure and they know they got to do. They know they got to make a move. So I think it may happen. I didn't know about the Byron Allen thing till Terrell was telling me about it. And I didn't look more into it.
It's been a big story lately.
Did you get more information on it, Terrell?
But but
we do know that one other thing does speak more volumes than anything, even with pressure from social justice, people pushing those topics. Green speaks. And let's just, what do y'all think about if somebody was to come in and put in a higher bid? Say, like, listen, I'm willing to do this for $20 billion.
I mean,
that'd be stupid to buy an NFL team for $20 billion.
Yeah.
Especially if it's
But I mean, I
think you ain't gonna ever get that money back because I don't think NFL make that much money. The owners to get back $20 billion.
Right.
And he ain't gonna offer $10 billion. I'm just saying he has enough capital.
He has that capital
to buy it
right.
outright if he choose to.
Right.
But like what Malcolm saying, I definitely agree. I think that he will get it. And speaking on what Clayton was saying, I mean, all these things coming out about the NFL, they want to save face. They're gonna try to they'll make him an example, saying, "Hey, we're not racist" or whatever, or all these things that that's going on within this organization. I mean, it's not all bad. We do care about African Americans or whatever. So they might let them get it. So
yeah, they're gonna throw it in there, but they got a couple of racist owners they need to kick out of the league. Starting with the Washington Redskins owner, they need to get him out of the league. They need to do what the NBA did when that guy, the LA Clippers, came, kicked him out of the league.
What's his name?
What was the dude's name?
I don't know, but they kicked him out of the league. They forced him to sell it.
Dang, what was his name?
So that's at the end.
I can't remember his name.
I can't remember.
Yo.
That was a big
I
story.
forgot about that.
And didn't he
yo.
have a black girl too?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But
Well, that was part of what happened with him. It was a phone conversation between him and the girl, and he was just like going in on her, and then talking about her to other people, like she was all types of niggas and black, bees and everything.
Like the FBI is trying to get the emails, and the NFL is covering it up and all this. It's a couple owners that they should get rid of, but we know.
Man, stop talking about my boy John Gruden, man.
It's a good old boys club. It is, and that's the prime example. John Gruden is a terrible coach, but the Raiders signed him to a 10-year, $100 million coaching contract, and he hadn't coached in 10 years?
Yeah, something like
and
that.
I think that's a dangerous thing, regardless of what color the coach is, to a 10-year deal. 5 years, maybe. Give him a chance.
But
Build
he
this
was
person
terrible.
up.
He did nothing
Well, that's
other
what I'm
than
saying.
win the Super Bowl with Tony Dungy players. That's it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, in general, I think that's a dangerous thing for coaches.
Now, if he's a great coach, then but him?
Yeah.
But you ain't no my boy, man.
You know John Gruden was the terrible coach, man.
All right, so what happened? There was an incident with Brian Flores. Talk about that, Grab.
So he's trying to sue the NFL because he was up for a job. He was going to an interview for a job for the head coach of the Giants, and it said Bill Belichick texted him and told him like congratulations or something like that. And he was like, "You know something I don't know." And he was texting the wrong Brian.
Yeah.
And so they had already decided who was going to be the coach for the team, but Flores was still due for the interview, so he was basically just doing the interview just to fulfill the Rooney Rule.
It was 3 days prior.
Yeah, and they already picked that man.
Right. So now we briefly brought up, the Rooney Rule, and my take on the Rooney Rule is that it's put into place almost like affirmative action. And so before I even get into the thought that I was about to say, do y'all believe that it was put into place for good intentions, or was it simply a pacifier just to, because the rule doesn't say you have to hire them. It just says you have to give them a chance to interview, things like that. So, do you think it was a pacifier, or was it actually put into place with good intentions?
Well, I think it was put in place for a good intention, because this rule was put in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
This rule isn't a new rule, and then people need to understand that it was really racist back in the 60s and 70s, and Rooney actually got, because black guys wasn't even coming in and getting coaching at all.
Right.
They wasn't even getting interviews, so I think it came from a good place. Now, do people misuse it? Absolutely, they misuse it all the time. But it was put in place to give black people opportunities. If you can't get a job if you don't get an interview.
Right.
I don't know how many jobs have you ever had
Hired sight unseen.
without an interview.
I can't think of one.
Right.
So he put that in place so black people could get an interview, so we can electrify them and see what we're about. And without this rule, Mike Tomlin probably wouldn't have a job. He probably wouldn't be a Tony Dungy. So I don't think it was a pacifier, but do I think people misuse it? Absolutely. Just like people misuse a lot of things, but I don't think it was a pacifier. I don't think it was affirmative action, because affirmative action saying you got to hire X amount of people.
You got to fill a quota, right?
This rule doesn't have a quote. It's just saying give this guy an interview, you might like him.
Right.
And I think it was a good
So the
thing.
Rooney Rule wasn't put into place that necessarily said color. It just says if they apply for it or they're interested in it, you have
Give
to at
them
least
an
interview them.
At least interview one minority candidate. They don't have to be black. It just has to be a minority candidate.
right.
Even women falls under minority candidates as well. as Hispanic as well. And like I said, I mean, back in the 60s, black people probably won't even get interviews at all.
Right.
And that's why he put this in place. So I think it was a good thing to do. Now people do misuse it, absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Because
But-
I just had to give him.
But
an
on the
interview.
same token, I will go ahead and take the interview because what the interview does, it gets your name out there.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
that's
you
true.
interviewing for this
Because
coach,
you might
and now
not
they got
necessarily
stories
come
for you.
across-
So you might not get that job, but you might get another interview
Yeah.
and get another
Yeah.
job.
Right.
Yeah,
So I
because you
think
might
it
not
was a
necessarily
great
come
thing.
across that racist owner or whatever, personnel, manager
Right.
on the next one. So,
And, man,
the
we
fact
know
that
the
somebody might say, "Oh, look, I heard them interview, they were good." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, and I like to believe that a lot of things. Matter of fact, I do believe that they do start with good intentions. It's just somehow, some way, it never ever winds up that way. Same thing with affirmative action, because there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying that if you got the job, even from affirmative action, that you shouldn't accept it, because that's still an opportunity. The problem comes that you, on a personal side of things, you start to question stuff about yourself, like, damn, did I earn this job, or was I given it, because they needed a dot, on this white piece of paper. And so a lot of times, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people in a lot of positions out here, be it sports or the corporate world, that got jobs or or got their positions because it was probably too white and there was some pressure coming down on them. So,
Well, I mean, my take on affirmative action, if we spending black money in certain areas, it should be black people employed at that place that we spending money at, whether you got the job because of affirmative action or not. So I think every place should have an affirmative action. I think we should do it in a different way, but I don't think affirmative action was bad. Because it did give other people that probably would never had got certain jobs. So I don't think it was a bad thing. Now, is
just
it
used for
misused?
bad over time. Yeah.
Over time.
Why is it so different in the NBA though? Like, how come you see more head
Because
coaches?
the NBA is.
You think because of the minority ratio is a lot higher in the NBA?
It is
than
a lot higher,
It
but
is.
the NFL is 70% black.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
But
not.
what
a
is the
small-
NBA? Isn't the NBA like a lot higher than? It's like damn, like 80 something,
yeah,
90
It's
something.
80 something,
I think
90,
it's like
but
85.
still.
Yeah.
But they still got white owners.
Yeah, because for the most part, most of the owners are all the owners or most.
Not all.
in
Not
the NFL.
all of them, but they got some foreign owners and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I mean,
Do we have any black owners in the NBA?
Yeah, you
What
got,
about was it
Michael
Toronto?
Jordan.
Toronto
Yeah,
Raptors?
Right.
Toronto. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he's like African. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some black owners in the NBA.
So,
So I don't know. Maybe it's because it is more dominated by blacks. I mean,
No, I just think NFL and football has always been one of the good old boys club type thing, and the NBA don't generate as much nearly what the NFL generates.
right. Especially given the capacity.
Exposure
Of, like,
and all that other stuff.
so that is one of those things that's very interesting. That because of that, especially in football. And I know we just talked about Byron Allen, and that's a real possibility. Do y'all think we will ever see like true black ownership? I'm talking about like a higher ratio. It's never going to be more, and I understand that because that wealth that comes from owning these teams, that's generational wealth. That stuff is passed down, from one generation to the next. What do you think that will take to see a lot more black ownership in the NFL? Would it be expansion, or do you think just give it some time?
I'd say, give it time.
We gotta get more black billionaires.
Yeah.
Well, there's that.
Because it's all at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line and money.
Yep.
You gotta have enough money to own a team. And you say it's gonna be a higher ratio. I mean, just having one black owner is gonna be a higher ratio.
Well, I mean,
This
that's
ain't
true.
the-
But I mean, like, there's 32 teams. There's 32 teams out there right now. Let's just say if we just went with a third, 10 or 11 of them are black. Do you think we'll get there if we go through an expansion again, or just give it like the next 10, 20, 50 years, and maybe we'll see more black ownership within the confines of where it is now with only 32 teams?
31.
Well,
Green Bay's own has
the city.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's,
true.
it's owned by the city.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Green Bay is people in the city is owned by them. But
Maybe they should do that with all the teams.
we do got enough money if they pull their resources together to own more than
Because
one
we have blacks
NFL.
that have a lot of money.
NFL. But I think we got to start our own league. I forgot what entertainer said, but we have to start our own league.
Yeah,
Well, he got the XFL, but if NFL is 70% black and 30% white, how about we take the 70% of the black people and create their own football
The
league?
NFL would die.
The NFL would die, and the league that we created would rise.
Yeah, I
But
think it's
part
just
of
people
the
gonna be scared to do that.
But see, yeah, I was saying because the part of the problem is because I'm not trying to put any blacks down, but we know a lot of times when they get ideas like that, now, hey, that all sounds great until people start pulling green out your pocket. Now all of a sudden, like, I'm not about to do that.
Well, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
That's just what you got to do to make a change. Martin Luther King, they didn't have to march, but that was something that they had to do to make a change.
Yeah.
They had to sacrifice stuff, and sometimes you have to sacrifice stuff to make a change.
Oh, yeah,
and if they want to make a change and have more ownership, then you sacrifice what you're making right now, and you create your own league. See, 70% of the NFL players are black. That means 70% of those players have millions of dollars combined.
And 70% of those
just
players-
multiply that. We talking about hundreds of. We probably talking about over, or at least close to $100 billion.
So you telling me those 70% of players that already has X amount of dollars couldn't go and fund their own NFL league?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they can, but the old boys club is not going to go for that. Right. So they, they're already,
it ain't up to them. They can fund their own league.
But they're in the pocket of like judges and politicians and cities and things like that.
That's so overboard. I wouldn't go that far. And we also got TV stations. We got BET. We got people that can sponsor the players. Brian Allen owns the Weather Channel. A lot of people don't know that he owns the Weather Channel. He owns tons of channels
that we don't even realize that we thought were owned just by like some billionaire. What? Yeah.
So with that idea, do you think is anything in like the contracts like stating like preventing something like that or
no?
Okay.
No.
It's just one of those. It's going to take a collective effort. It can't be 10 players.
Because where they going to
Well, The Rock.
It could start.
The Rock actually bought the XFL. We can put money. They can all put money into the XFL and make it a real good thing.
Yeah.
And because it's it's not like a trademark sport. It's not like they can say, "Oh, well, they can't do this." It's not trademark.
Football is king.
Yeah.
People will watch it. Black, white, green, and purple. They will watch it. No matter what league is popular. We just got to make the black league more popular than the NFL and take our players away. They don't have an NFL anymore.
Now, real quick, just speaking on the XFL, we're going to move on real quick because that wasn't part of this. Why y'all think it failed the first time? Like, it just didn't take off?
Because it had stupid rules. That wasn't football.
It lived up to his name. It was extreme.
It wasn't football.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
It was owned by a wrestling. It was owned by a wrestling.
And that's why it didn't succeed because it wasn't football.
I watched a few games. That joint was crazy.
I did too, but I was just like, overall, I was like, was it poor business decisions or poor marketing? Because that was backed by the McMahon family.
Yeah, I was about to say that was Vince McMahon's idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember he hated me?
Yeah.
He played for the Panthers for a minute.
Yeah, that's
So, now also, when we was talking about like the disparity and the lack of diversity in sports, race wise, we talked about coaches. There were some things that came up with players, and you guys had talked about that. I guess one of the things that we talked about was like the things that players have to deal with.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, and what you meant as far as like race in sports when it comes to the player side.
Okay, so when I was talking about that, what I meant is that it seemed like for black athletes, especially in the NBA, like we have to be in a positive light, making sure that we're doing everything the right way. For example, LeBron James or Dwayne Wade or something like that. We always have to do the right thing because we're always being like under the spotlight. They're trying to find any little thing that we do wrong and blow it out of proportion and now hurt our image or whatnot. And I'm gonna go over a couple people like athletes in different sports or whatever. But the first one was Carmelo Anthony. They were playing at the 76ers game or whatever, and he was dribbling the ball down the court, and a 76ers fan like screamed out saying he kept calling him boy, and we all know that boy is like a slavery word.
A demeaning term.
Yeah, it's demeaning to African Americans and whatnot. So what he said, you're a little boy, let him shoot. That's what the guy said, but I'm quite sure it was more than that or whatever. So what happened with that Carmelo Anthony got upset about it, and the refs came in there and they protected. Well, they pretty much got the security involved and they ejected the guy out of the game. So what happened to the fan? He got banned indefinitely. So I'm gonna go to a hockey.
So Carmelo got ejected?
No. I'm sorry.
Fan.
No, the fan got ejected. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go to a hockey player. Hopefully, I don't butcher his name. Akim Aliu. So he was playing for the Rockford Ice Hogs, and his coach Bill Peters addressed him one day during the pregame skate, and Bill Peters said, "Hey Akim, I'm sick of you playing that nigger S." Regarding the music Aliu was listening to. So then he said, "I'm sick of hearing this nigga talking about other niggas banging each other."
That's what the coach said?
Yeah.
Whoa, what was he? Whoa. What was he listening to?
They didn't say that. What the
And
song
the coach was white?
Yeah, the coach was white. The coach said that, and
To a black player.
Yeah, to a black player.
Coach should have got them hands that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, that's what
He
I'm
slapped him
saying.
like that dude in South Carolina.
Like,
But,
he
said,
that
yes, sir.
twisted T, man. And,
Yeah, but,
Should have got them hands that day.
But like going over and like looking at the different athletes in hockey, I didn't know it was that bad. Which I mean, I had some assumption, but I didn't
Well,
know it was
hockey
that
is a
severe.
majority white sport.
Yeah.
Right.
definitely.
So I would imagine it's probably worse.
The
than
worst. Yeah.
And when I kept doing my research, it was even worse where some coaches actually put their hands on athletes, actually hit them upside the head.
hockey?
Yeah.
Yo.
Hit him and everything like that. So what happened to Bill Peters? He resigned after I think the incident got out there. He resigned within 10 days. And then the last person I'm gonna go over.
So then Kim is he still playing?
Yeah, he's on another team now. So yeah.
I would sue the league. I'm like, because I'm pretty sure they allowed this to happen.
So the last person I'm gonna talk about is Bruce Maxwell. He was playing with he was a catcher for the Oakland A's or whatever. So I think this was around the time when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, protesting, and everything like that. So I guess he was inspired by that. So he wanted to take a stand and kneel as well. Right. The thing is, when he was kneeling, nobody kneeled with him. His teammates they all stood or whatever.
I think I remember that he was the only one in the lineup to kneel. Yeah.
So it was so bad. He was pretty much not protected by his team or just the organization at all.
Right.
Donald Trump had a press conference. No, he had a speech. I guess he went to Huntsville, Alabama, and he pretty much said that any NFL player who kneeled in protest for police violence is a son of a bitch. Pretty much. So pretty much, Bruce Maxwell got death threats, harassments. He was harassed. Whatever, his family was harassed as well. And his teammates was joking and making jokes saying hey, they might be assassins in the booth. They might try shoot you. So his teammates didn't sit with him. He was by himself or whatever. So eventually, when things started to get better for us, so now we're able to speak our mind and speak saying with the injustices that we face, the players that didn't have his back, I guess are starting to speak out now. So
because it became popular.
Yeah, and I kind of I understand, but then I don't. It's. I guess I don't know if he should be upset about that. But then again, the main thing is getting it out there, letting people know.
What if they truly changed their mind? We don't know. We don't know if they're just jumping on it because it was popular and it's the thing now, or if they truly had a change of thought.
Right,
and that's what we want, right? People to change their thinking.
Most definitely. And I guess that's what I was looking at. I didn't know their intentions, and I felt now because it's the hip thing, that's when they jumped out there and started speaking their mind. But then again, like you said,
but even some of us black people, we jump on the trend. If it's trendy, to be radical, people will do it. So it ain't just people who don't share the same skin color that we do.
Right.
And even I have had to go back and pop my own hand on things like that. I felt strongly about something at one point in particular time, and I kind of had to go back and even my mind changed, over time. So even though, let's just say for an example, if I jumped on the bandwagon or something, just because it became popular, who's to say that's not the catalyst for changing their mind? Because now they're exposed to it, and so even though they kind of did it for the wrong reasons, but you still get to hear a different point of view now because you're putting yourself in the middle of it. So who's to say that might just, even like I say, even though they probably just did it because it was popular, the fact that they just got involved with it.
Right.
Some of them probably did change their mind. Some of them just don't want to hurt their pockets, don't want to be known as the racist or the unsupportive teammate. Right. Things like that. And I know with that incident there in Oakland, it wasn't even just about the league and the players. He went through a lot of stuff with the fans and things like that. You know, like you said, he was getting threats and people was throwing things and stuff like that at him. You know, so it was like he was like being ridiculed for just standing up for something he believed in. And like I said, and we all know it was a silent protest. He wasn't doing anything outrageous or anything like that. He just kneeled down, just in solidarity, just saying like, I'm just speaking out. So,
and I mean, because like doing research, I mean, just it's crazy how each sport is more severe. For soccer, I mean, it's bad for African American athletes or whatnot.
Even though they play a lot of soccer in Africa.
But there's a lot of black players in soccer
and South America and stuff.
But I mean, in general in soccer.
But I mean, like for example, like London or something like that. I mean, European.
European. That's why I don't want to go to Europe.
But
man, you got him back on it. I thought I was going to convince him to go to Europe, man. I don't think it's happening.
But the last two people I mentioned, Russell Westbrook was one. I don't know if y'all remember where the fan threw popcorn at him or whatever. I mean, and then the last one was...
He threw popcorn, man. It was high as that damn popcorn at the stadium.
But the last one we all saw when we was kids, when, the Pacers and the Detroit Pistons fight. and actually looking back at the video, I mean, it was, white people...
Meta World Peace?
Meta World Peace and Jermaine
but when Meta World Peace was laying on the table, he was minding his business, but a white person came over and threw popcorn and threw beer and stuff like that. So that's when they got them hands.
Especially if I knew I was getting ready to retire or something too.
I didn't mind it. I thought... he didn't retire.
He went to the Lakers after that.
Yeah, and then Steven Jackson.
Oh, yeah, because that's
what... I forgot Steven Jackson.
Oh, yeah,
that dude did that sliding. J.O.,
He knocked the crap out of that dude, bro.
Yeah, man.
As he should have.
Yeah. So he broke his jaw.
Let me ask you this. Now, with these professional athletes, especially black athletes, it seems, dealing with these kinds of things like behaviors from like fans and things like that, do you think that it's part of their job? It's part of their job, including dealing with these types of behaviors, hateful and racist comments, should that be part of their jobs?
Racist comment, no, but hatefulness, man, that's fine.
Like regular heckling.
Yeah, that's fine, but racist comments, absolutely not. I remember I was in middle school. We was in 8th grade. We went to Buttonston. We ran out the gym. The whole gym booed us. The first time I ever been booed in my life. Well, we won the game by like 26 points though. But that stuff happens. But racist stuff, I don't think they should have to deal with racist stuff. But heckling, booing, and trash talk, then that's part of the sport.
Yeah,
and that's the same thing Carmelo Anthony said. What you said, Malcolm. Like he doesn't mind being heckled. I mean, he's a professional athlete.
Right.
But to the point where you're being called boy or nigger or something like that, I mean, that's definitely wrong.
Those fighting words, right?
Yeah, exactly. And my thing is like, I feel like it shouldn't be, that responsibility shouldn't be up to the players. Like they should be protected by their organization and just the league itself or whatever. But sometimes we have to take matters in our own hands and actually, keep.
Well, that's why in football the fans are not close to the field. In football and those things, that's why. Yeah. So you don't really hear a lot of it because it's really noisy and they're not close enough to throw alcohol on you and those things unless you're going into the tunnel.
And I mean, it's stupid. Like I mean, if you have the right mind to throw beer or throw popcorn on somebody, then be prepared to get what's going to come to you.
I think the NBA is doing a good job in banning those players for a lifetime.
But they don't want another Malice at the Palace. This one.
But again, racist people got green dollars too, and that's the bottom line in most cases.
Yeah.
Now, how much do y'all think, like, as far as like dealing with these behaviors? We know when you're a celebrity, you're in the eye of the public. How much, responsibility lies on the shoulders of these professional athletes to deal with these things? Like, because the first thing somebody scream out to an NBA player or something like that, oh, you a nigga, die nigga, or something like that, and they're human beings, but the first thing people's always think about, like, oh, if you hit me, I'ma sue, and things like that. How much responsibility lies on these players as far as dealing with these things, or should the leagues? Now, y'all just said that the NBA is starting to
they're starting to do a better job with racist people and not having contact with the players. Yeah, it is up to the league to get them out, but you ain't gonna get 100% of racist people out of the stands because you don't know their backgrounds and those things.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, racist type thing. If you bold enough to say something racist to somebody, you should be bold enough to take those hands. I think
I say that all the time anyway. In any situation.
And at that point, I mean,
if you're bold enough to say, nigga,
point,
take these hands.
Yeah.
Because that's what they be wanting attention.
But like I said, regular stuff is fine.
Yeah. You suck. Look, you don't get mad at that. Maybe you did suck.
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So.
But racist stuff, yeah. I mean, you can feel, some kind of way if somebody say something racist to you.
Right. But I feel like, we have to, I mean, well, not we, but just athletes have to just, be on a higher standard, especially for African Americans. I mean, because like I said, any little thing that you do negative, I mean, the media is going to like take it and just run away with it. Whatever.
Yeah, because you always got a camera on you.
Right. Mm-hmm. For example, I think it was last year, or the year before last. Rajon Rondo beat up that lady or something like that. And
beat up a lady.
Beat up a lady.
Yeah, what? I think it was him and his girl in like the parking deck or something like that. And
you was playing NBA Jam. That happened
no, that happened for real. Yeah, I forgot what. Him and
I think I do remember that.
Yeah, they got into a confrontation.
You can't be.
Did him and his girlfriend beat up a lady or something?
Okay, yeah, but then I think he like pushed her or something like that.
But you can't be beating up women. You got.
I think it was his girlfriend beat the woman up or something.
Yeah, his girlfriend's beating up the woman, but I think he pushed her as well or something like that because she got in their face or something.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what happened. I damn sure don't condone. No. All I'm I don't condone hitting women.
Oh, right.
But in a situation like that, if you're being obnoxious and racist and you violate my personal space, I do have a right to nudge your ass.
But he
now
said
to
beat
hit,
her up.
not to beat her. I don't care if she called you a nappy headed nigga. You don't put your hands on a woman.
You don't beat a woman up.
Now, what you can
do. I don't think he beat her up. I think
listen. What I do think is
now shoving her. That's totally different.
Shoving her out your face, or if you have a taser and you drop that ass with a taser, I think that's fair game. You didn't put your hands on it.
I mean, it's hard because we always talk about as regular dudes, we gotta be in control of our emotions and our responses. So when you make that much money, you need to be even more conscious of it because you're really gonna affect your livelihood. Yeah. Even if you're not a millionaire, if you're just a regular dude walking on the street like us, we have to be conscious of how we respond to things. If somebody call us a nigga in regular life, if we like throw them hands on them, we're gonna have to deal with them consequences that come after it. So and oftentimes we're gonna look like the aggressor if we beat them down.
We're always gonna look.
We always like the aggressor, even if we the ones on the ground.
So that's why I think players shouldn't have to deal with that. Right. And I just think the response that you have may not be looked at as warranted as we think it is. Like, yeah, you call me a nigga, you should get them hands. But I think in the grand scheme of things, if we look at somebody, they beat up a fan, it's not gonna go well. You're gonna be fined. You're gonna be suspended. So
and it's gonna hurt your image.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to deal with it and just let the league handle it. Like I guess you got to snitch and be like, yo, ref or whoever. Right.
And that's what Carmelo Anthony did and got him ejected. Yeah. Right. I'm saying somebody called me the N-word. They catching these hands. I'm gonna just deal with it.
That's my whole thought on it.
So,
because like I said, obviously you're looking for a reaction.
Right.
Maybe you wasn't thinking about taking an ass whooping, but you were looking for a reaction. Right. You just don't get to pick and choose which reaction you get.
And I mean, kind of like
with the twisted T.
No, like that.
You go to jail.
Hey, no, like that guy that was about to beat up y'all and Terrell at the game. That old white dude about to beat y'all up. You remember that Terrell? Who was at the ACC championship game?
Which one y'all
can take me? That drunk white dude.
And he punched Clayton on, but
because Terrell was about to beat him up, he got scared of Terrell.
But to add on to what Clayton said, I mean, he's definitely right. I mean, it sucks that we have to take the high road all the time, but then we have to also think about the consequences if we react on that. Mm-hmm. So I guess
it's going to be a lot worse for us,
right? And that's why they said LeBron James is one of the most upstanding athletes in the game today. So
because he does maintain his composure, and that guy being who he is, he gets a lot. First of all, he gets a lot coming at him from us,
right?
And then we're not calling him a bald-headed nigga, and things like that.
Russell Westbrook is the opposite end of the spectrum. Russell Westbrook always in something.
Oh yeah,
always doing something crazy.
So he gets I'm just saying the fact that he's in a spotlight, he gets enough from just fans in general.
Right.
But you're always going to have, but you're always going to have that.
Right.
You're always going to have those fans out there that just take it too far. Okay, you don't like him as a player,
right.
or hell, even as a person. That's fine, but keep it in the confines of the game,
right.
because that's the only place you know him. Yeah. You don't know him outside of the game.
You don't know about his personal life.
That's what I thought was stupid.
To call him a dumb nigga or something like that, like you going too far. And then when you do catch the hands, you can't, you really can't play the victim here.
Right, most definitely.
So I thought it was stupid when they was like telling me like shut up and dribble. Like he ain't American. He still got to live his life every day in America.
And then just because he's an athlete, he's entitled to his opinion.
Racist.
Right.
He's still a citizen first and foremost.
But then pay a lot more taxes than we do.
Right. And when she said that the LeBron James, what did she say about Drew Brees?
But see, he's entitled to his opinion. Though.
So, but I apologize, Rajon Rondo was your girlfriend that knocked that lady out.
I told you he beat that lady up. I can't remember.
So look, so in response to things like this, as we get ready to close out, do y'all think the organizations truly care about these players, or do they care more about the bottom line? Now we know bottom line is first priority, but do we think that they have an actual care for the players?
I mean, what's the guy? The Sterling guy from the Clippers? He definitely didn't care about the players.
Bob Sterling?
No, it wasn't Bob Sterling.
Was it Adam Sterling?
Don Sterling. He definitely didn't care about the player. He just cared about the bottom line. And I think the NFL, they only care about the bottom line. I mean, as soon as Flores filed that charges, next thing you know, 2 black coaches got hired.
Yeah,
as soon as he filed,
I thought that whole thing was really
ironic too. I ain't gonna knock Lovie Smith because he's a great coach.
Yeah.
And
but I thought the timing was a little.
He probably could have got the job without it, but
the timing was a little off. Though.
Boom, 2 things, and then the Denver Broncos come up for sale, and boom, Brian Allen is about to buy.
Well, we had 2 black coaches hired. Mm-hmm. There's talks of a black owner. I thought the timing of that all could have.
Because they got to say their face. Yeah. Because it's about money.
See, it's about image too.
But see, and that's one of those things that makes me feel like when things like this happen, it's to pacifiers. Okay, we're going to give y'all the owner, and we're going to give you 2 more coaches. Yeah. But we're not going to change the behaviors.
I mean, weigh in's a weigh in.
Right? We'll take the win, though. We'll take it.
Wins, man.
Even if you're just giving us an inch, we'll take it. Yeah. But it does seem like it's a.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's true. It just seemed like a pacifization to me.
I mean, like you said, you got to take your small victories and then eventually it'll become a bigger one.
Yeah,
so.
You got to chip away at it.
What's that? So
cans weren't made in one day. Right. It took time for cans to get made.
I thought you were talking about like aluminum cans. That's my mind. I was like
canyons.
I was like, they can be made in one day.
Now, I think Adam Silver was Adam Silver. Yeah, I think he cares about just everyone.
No, I'm not saying that's I'm not saying it's not all of them.
I think relationships will get better over time, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I think over time we're gonna get more black coaches. You just got to start somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, of course, as a whole, they don't care, but I think it's just like any job you have. We've had jobs where if you can feel like they care about you, but we have other jobs like they don't care.
Just a number.
I could drop dead and they're going to replace him. So I think it's probably some organizations out there that really care about their staff and their players. And
they're very far and few in between.
Yeah.
But, we don't know. We never worked in one of those organizations. So, but I mean, I like to hold on to a little bit of hope that some of them have some care for their staff and things like that. And not just the bottom line. Well, that's still important. It's a business at the end of the day, so that's still going to be important.
But you can make your money and do the right thing.
Right. Yeah. Because if you care about your employees and they see that, they're going to work hard.
Increases
absolutely.
Right. Yep. So.
All right, guys. I think it was a good conversation here. It's definitely sports related. We didn't want to just jump in on just race, but this is another observation that we have definitely seen. Even in the sports world. So, like for anybody that think that they are going through things in their personal lives, you think because these people are millionaires and billionaires, trust me, they go through the same things that we through. So, we all in this fight together, which is why I think when it comes to like these celebrities and athletes, I think we should be a little bit more sensitive and considerate to them as well, because without that money, they're just another black man or black woman, that face the same things that we do. They just have a little bit more resources than we have. So it's been another episode of the After 29 podcast, man. Until next time, peace.
Peace.